So, here's a quick little introduction because this is the very beginning of my podcast. And it's my first time doing anything like this because most of what I usually work on is either very scripted or very physical because my main job is as a stunt woman for television and film. So, as a lot of you know, but some of you might not know, we have been in a strike with our industry, which led to me basically having to figure out some of the way to create. Because even though what I do is mostly a physical, um, athletic job, it's also very creative. So I wanted to make something that could continue even when things like a global pandemic or a industry-wide shutdown happen. And I've had some really cool conversations with different people within the industry. I mean, it can be from actors to musicians to producers to directors to fellow stunt people to content creators, even to people who have become kind of celebrity speakers in their own field, but have merged into this media marketing kind of life. And I wanted to start asking more questions about their normal life. Because something that I notice in a lot of the conversations regarding our strike is that people have this really weird perception that all of us are basically Angelina Jolie or any other celebrity who lives a very privileged end of this lifestyle. And while I'm sure they have all their own stuff, it's just not true. The majority of the people who pursue this industry and are out here in Hollywood or cities that are similar pursuing the same field, they deal with all of the normal everyday stuff. And sometimes it's even harder because we're navigating really weird social circumstances and we're navigating relationships, whether that's romantic or friendly or you name it, or family, familial. And there's this whole different layer to it where we're also dealing with the stress of this industry and the pressures of this industry and the expectations of the people in this industry. And it's not just be skinny, look right, be a certain way, talk a certain way. It's also how you present yourself. It's also how you show up on Instagram or how you show up on TikTok or how you just show up in general and which people you're friends with and which ones you're not. And, this person upset this person, so don't talk to them. And, oh, this is my cat Sassy. I'm sure the animals will be dropping in from time to time. But anyways, I wanted to elaborate on those topics with people so that you guys would get a real life sense of what it's like to be an industry performer pursuing this career. Now, to give you guys a little background about myself so you know who I am. I started in the arts at a really young age. My family has always been in the arts. My grandparents and my dad have always been big supporters of theater and the ballet and the orchestra growing up in Central Florida. And so I kind of went along in those footsteps. I also have other family members that have been in and out of the industry, whether that's working as musicians, recording artists, composers, or extras and actors. So I kind of lived like a weird double life because that was my dad's side of the family. But on my mom's side of the family, we had a lot of athletes, professional surfers. I got into horseback riding. I have little cousins that followed and went into horseback riding, soccer players, National League soccer players, and all sorts of things, motorcycle riders. And so I had this split of like an athletic brain and an artist's brain. And the phrase master of none, jack of all trades, master of none, that was thrown at me a lot until I got older and I realized what the full phrase was, which was jack of all trades, master of none. Well, now I can't remember it. I'll pop it up down here in the editing. I think it's like better than a master of one, right? Jack of all trades, master of none, better than a master of one. So I think there's some truth and misconception about that, because I used to play piano when I was a kid, and I kind of wish that my parents were putting a little more pressure on me to be better at it. And I think they tried, but I was kind of a wild one. So I wish though that I had really mastered one, but I ended up kind of partly mastering a lot of different things. And because of that, it made me a really good candidate to become a stunt person. So the more stunt people I met when I was pursuing acting or pursuing music, the more I was starting to get pushed into the, hey, you should do this. Hey, you should try this. Hey, you'd make more money doing this. Hey, you'd be successful at this. And so one day I just, my mentor, his name is Tony Bella. Thank you, Tony. I decided to follow his lead, and I took a break from my acting pursuits and my music pursuits, and I just went full-fledged into stunts. And since then, I have been really proud of my body of work. I have doubled A-list actors on big films, on TV series. For the lead double, I have worked on big national commercials as a professional stunt driver. I have done shows you've probably heard of, but I'm not going to name those. Normally, I would name those shows right now. Maybe in another episode I will, but because we are on strike, I'm going to remember that, and I'm going to respect that, and I'm not going to advertise, because these streaming companies are really screwing us right now, you guys. Between the AI and between our residual contracts, my mentors used to make a lot more money than I do doing half the amount of work. So, we need to fix these things. So in another time, I will share some of the projects that I've worked on, and maybe talk a little bit about each project separately once these networks start fixing stuff. So anyway, that's what the show's about. That's who I am. And there's a lot more to me than that, right? Like, I think the biggest thing is, for me, I want to show everybody that we're real people too. And there's a lot of misconceptions, and I kind of want to get rid of them. And I want to show the real life aspect of a creative pursuing this really complicated industry. And I want to get into some discussions with people about some topics that are tough for normal people, but they're also really intricate and tough for people that work these high profile careers. So we're going to dig into that a bit. And I'm really excited for you to see some of the guests that I have coming up. And hopefully, as we get along and rolling in this, my editing will get better, and my setup will improve, and the stories will get more interesting. So anyways, thanks for hanging with me this long and listening to me gab. It's going to be a lot more fun when I have someone going back and forth with us. And even tonight, I'm going to start, getting into some of this dialogue with some fellow colleagues of mine. So tune in, and thanks for joining. Bye.